This video will contain spoilers for Fantastic Four First Steps, so if you're worried about spoilers, be sure to see the movie and come back after that. Hey guys, Jonathan here, and today I'll be showing you how to build all of the main characters from the Fantastic Four First Steps using 100% official LEGO parts and pieces. So with that being said, I'm super excited to get this built. Sorry for the slight delay. I was at San Diego Comic-Con while the movie came out, so, well, that kind of took precedent. But I'm home now, and the first thing I did when I got back is start working on this video. So let's get right in. Alright, we'll kick things off with Ben Grimm in his space astronaut outfit from before the mission. Since we're kind of going to go in chronological-ish order, this does make the most sense to start with. Of course, if you have 4 astronaut outfits, you could build all 4 of them. But unfortunately, I only have 2, so I figured I'd just use one of them to show Ben Grimm here. The head comes from Sam Flynn from the Tron set, the idea set from years and years ago. Then, of course, the torso, legs, the shoulder piece here, the helmet, all of that comes from that aforementioned city astronaut from a couple years ago. Really nice to get those dual-molded arms. Those will come in handy later in this very video, and he's just got some flat brown hair to finish the look. So we'll go ahead and talk about how to build the Fantastic Four in their casual civilian outfits, and of course that starts with Reed and Sue. Reed is actually very simple to make. Of course, the hair comes from Doctor Strange with the gray on the sides, and the head comes from Din Djarin from The Mandalorian, since it's also Pedro Pascal. Want to make sure he has matching hands for the skin tone, but the legs and the torso come from Michael Scott, Creed Bratton from The Office, or from Professor X from the X-Men Mansion, which makes this a very easy figure to build since those pieces were used in a lot of places. Maybe they've been used elsewhere, not exactly sure. For Sue Storm, I went ahead and used the torso from Kevin from the Home Alone set. Really like that, paired with the legs from the 2015 Age of Ultron Scarlet Witch. Then the head is from Sylvie from the LEGO Marvel CMF Series 1, and she's got the regular blonde hair, which actually also appears on Sue Storm in the Fantastic Four First Steps set. Alright, here is casual Johnny Storm from when he's hanging out around the Baxter building. This one's pretty simple to make. We've got that hair from the Paul Walker figure from the LEGO Fast and Furious set from Speed Champions, and ironically, that's also where the torso comes from. So if you have that figure, you're basically half of the way there to making what you see here. The legs are the blue azure legs that actually come on the Fantastic Four from the First Step set. Of course, those figures didn't get any leg printing or detail, but it works perfect for what Johnny wears in the movie. Then that head is the one that's been used on Hawkeye for a while. It's just kind of a generic head. It's been on tons and tons of Star Wars Troopers and all that good stuff, but it makes for an awesome figure all around. Now, there have been lots of takes on how to build Herbie across the internet since he dropped, and I wanted to share mine. I really like the way that this turned out, and I'm super, super happy with it. Especially when you put him next to a minifigure. He is a little bit scaled too big, I have to admit that. I wish he was just a little bit shorter or smaller, but given the piece of count and, you know, what we can actually use here, I think it works really well. Now, for the arms, as you can see, his arms are actually posable. You can twist them at the body joint, you can move the arms in and out, and you can twist the little hooks there for his hands, and the clips are just white clips, come in a lot of places. Of course, you can see how I built the arms there with the 1x1 clips, and this kind of tube piece there works really, really well. Moving down the body, you can see that there is a 2x2 flat piece in light bluish gray on the bottom, then a 2x2 round piece on top of that, then a 2x2 round brick on top of that. Then when we lift that up, you can see that there is a 1x1 round stud that clips in there and allows for the body to be able to kind of spin around. Then we've got a snot piece that's turned upside down. Kind of a cool method there to go ahead and put that blue dot on the front where like the 4 logo would be. Then we talked about the arms already. As we move up to the head, you can see we've got an upside down stud there for blue. Then we've got another snot brick that holds all the head pieces together. We've got those pyramid style cheese slopes on the side, kind of for the ears, if you will. A 1x2 flat piece on the back, a 1x2 flat piece on the top. Then, as you can see how I positioned it, the anti-stud is facing outward so that we could put a 1x2 jumper plate there, and then put 2 studs, as you can see right there, for his eyes and the tape there. I think it works really, really well, and I do really have to say, I think it looks fantastic. So we'll kick things off for the Fantastic Four with Mr. Fantastic. Now, of course, you're going to need the Fantastic Four First Steps Lego set to get all of the accurate torsos, or as accurate as we can get, for this movie. Now, for the arms, I used these dual-molded arms that actually come on the Lego pilots. They're the astronaut pilots, that is, from City from a couple years ago. That gets you the white gloves and the blue on top. Then, of course, the corresponding torso, and the eraser method needs to be used on the legs from Condiment King from the Lego Batman movie, because on that figure, he's wearing like whitey-tighties underwear, but if you use the eraser method, which is where you take an eraser and, you know, basically go ahead and wipe off all of the printing there, it gets you the white boots with the blue legs, and all of the colors match with that dark azure. Now, moving up to the head, this is the head from Din Djarin from The Mandalorian. Of course, it's also Pedro Pascal, and I think that this head looks a lot more accurate than what we get in the official Fantastic Four set, since that figure has like a dark black beard, and Pedro clearly doesn't have that much facial hair in the movie. Then the hair with the gray on the sides is from Doctor Strange from the more recent iterations of Strange, and I think that that makes for the perfect Mr. Fantastic. Now, of course, the other things we can talk about are how to give him his stretchy arms. And of course, I used these arms from the Avatar figures, from Avatar The Way of Water and all that, and I think that that works really well to give him like stretching arms, but of course the colors don't match perfectly, so as long as you're okay with the colors not matching, that does work out great. Of course, we can also remove the legs, and we can put legs from the Avatar figures on there as well to make him taller. Now, of course, the other thing, again, to mention is the colors are not going to match, but it is really nice to see him, like, with his stretchy powers a lot taller. So when we put him next to other members of the Four, you can clearly see that the stretching powers are making him elongated, which, again, I think works really, really well. And with that, we'll go ahead and move on to Sue Storm as our next member of the Four. So for Sue Storm, once again, that torso comes from the Galactus Fantastic Four First Step set. Then the legs are exactly the same from Condiment King, using the eraser method to get the whitey-tighties off of there. And then, of course, we've got the white boots and the blue legs up top. Now, I added the transparent arms from Electro from Spider-Man back in 2014 or so to show her invisibility powers, which I like quite a bit. Of course, if you want, you could also pop those off and use the exact same arms we used for Reed. Actually, you have to lift the hair off. With the City astronaut, so that you get the gloves if you want to have her without her powers. I think that those look really good. The head comes from Sylvie from the Lego Marvel Collectible Minifigure Series 1, and the hair comes from Nova from Lego Friends. Now, there's also this hair that you can use from Glinda from the Wicked sets, and I've seen a lot of people use this. I wanted to get that and try it out myself. I do think that that looks good. However, I think that the hair sits a little bit too high on the head, and it kind of makes her forehead look a little bit too large. So that's just my personal take. I'm not a huge fan of this, but I do understand the look. I just personally prefer the way that the Nova hair sits on the head, and I think it looks a little bit better. But I think both are great options, and I'd love to hear which one you prefer in the comments. So here we have Johnny Storm, aka the Human Torch, and I'm showing you both his regular Fantastic Four suit and the Flame On version simultaneously. You guys know the drill with the legs from Condiment King, the torso is from the First Step set, and the arms are the printed arms from the Captain Rex minifigure. Now, I know that they're not 100% accurate, but I think that it's the best way to get white and blue on the arms. There are not a lot of Lego arms with printing that can get that look quite the way this does, so I dig it quite a bit. The head actually comes from Hawkeye, from the more recent versions of Hawkeye in the Lego sets, but also from very, very many Star Wars Trooper figures over the years. It is a little on the generic side, but in this case, I actually think it works really, really well. Now, of course, the hair up top comes from the Paul Walker figure from the Fast and Furious Speed Champion set, although it has appeared in other places as well. Now, for the Human Torch himself, this is the design I've been using literally for like almost 10 years now, and the torso comes from Flama from Nexo Knights, then the head and legs come from Energy Kai from Ninjago, and he's got this flame headpiece here, which was used in a couple places over the years. But the other thing I want to talk about is the new August 2025 sets actually come with a flame hairpiece that come on the pumpkin bombs for Hobgoblin and Green Goblin, and I do think that that works pretty well too. I do prefer this piece that I've been using all these years because I think it looks better when the entire head is encompassed in flames, but this hasn't been in a set in, like, honestly, probably 7 or 8 years. So it is nice that there will be an option on store shelves here that you can use if you want to, you know, use a more modern piece. I think that that works well. So I just wanted to show what that looks like, although at the end of the day, my vote still goes to the original piece from before. And here we have the Thing. Everything on this figure stayed the same as the way he comes in the actual set. From Fantastic Four First Steps, the only thing I changed is adding a white utility belt to make his torso look a little bit more beefy, and of course those Condiment King legs we've been talking about this entire time. Other than that, I went ahead and used the Thing exactly the way he comes out of the set. Here we have the Thing in his casual New York City outfit, and he does wear several different outfits throughout the movie. I just kind of wanted to give a best of here. Now, he's got a dark brown fedora on that's come in several places at this point. I used the Thing head and a reddish beard here to show, you know, when he grows out his beard in the movie. I think that looks good. Then the torso and legs come from the Weasley twins from the Lego Harry Potter CMF Series 2, and I gave him hands that sort of kind of match the complexion of the head. It's not perfect, but it works well enough for getting the point across here. Here we have the Silver Surfer. I think that this figure turned out awesome given the circumstance. Lego has never made a Silver Surfer minifigure, so we have to take it upon ourselves to do so. Now, the surfboard is a light bluish gray, I guess it's like a snowboard is the best way to word it, and that has come in the tall neck set from Lego Horizons. So I really like that, but the main thing here is the body itself. If I remove the hair for just a split second, you can see that this used to be a keychain that I clipped the keychain part out of with a pair of wire cutters. Then I put this slick back gray hair over top, and that's probably the best way to make the Silver Surfer, trying to stay as close to the ground with the purest method as possible. Now, there are some other hair options, such as the hair from Cheetah from Wonder Woman 84, but after really looking at it and living with it, I think using the gray color scheme is best. So this swept-back gray hair, while not technically long enough, I think from the front looks the best, and I can actually live with it, and I dig it quite a bit, given, you know, the Lego pieces and the limited availability we have without actually getting custom printed pieces or custom molded pieces. I dig this quite a bit. Of course, we also have to talk about Franklin Richards. Now, there are not a lot of flesh-tone baby options to choose from in Lego pieces right now, so the best option, I think, is the baby from the Despicable Me set from Despicable Me 4 from Gru's house. I do think that's our best option here, so let me know what you think, and we'll keep moving on. Now, here we have the Moleman. I really wish we got more time with Moleman in the movie, but alas, making him based off of what we see in the movie was a lot of fun. The head comes from Captain Cold from Lego DC, and yes, I know Moleman has a slight beard in this movie, but there's no way to get those glasses and a beard given current Lego part availability, so I think it's better to go with the glasses and use the piece from Captain Cold. He's got flat brown hair up top, the torso from Lloyd from the Lego Ninjago movie, with a brown utility belt and mid-sized legs. That way, when he's standing next to Sue Storm, he does seem just a little bit shorter. You know, I think that the build works out great, and especially with that belt, it kind of helps his body look a little bit bigger and thicker, so he's not like super tiny like we're using super short legs. And, you know, I think that that height and stature works really well for Moleman, all things considered. Of course, we also have to talk about Galactus. Now, it's not really possible to build Galactus at minifigure height, but I did show this really, really cool Galactus alternative build that was put up on Rebrickable, where you could actually just use pieces from the set to turn Galactus into a minifigure style build. I realize that's not for everybody, but I like it a lot myself, and I would highly recommend trying it out if you like the style. But of course, you could just use Galactus from the set, and that would work well to represent him from the movie too. But I had to talk about Galactus, so those would be the two ways you could add him to your Fantastic Four lineup. And of course, that brings us to the mid-credits scene with Doctor Doom and an aged-up Franklin Richards. So for Franklin, it's actually pretty simple to go ahead and just use any dark blue torso, short dark blue legs, tan hands. Then the head is actually from the Home Alone set. I think that works really well for this. And the hair is from Lloyd from Ninjago. And for Doctor Doom, of course, I used the official Doctor Doom minifigure, but positioning him kind of like this with his back toward the camera and using sticky tack to put a War Machine mask in his hand is really the best way to get the look for what we see for this one split second in the movie. Of course, just using a dark green hood, dark green cape, and this arm from the Dragonborn Paladin from the Lego Dungeons & Dragons is enough to get most of the look there. But of course, if you have the actual Doctor Doom as the stand-in, that works perfect. Alright guys, be sure to hit like and subscribe down below and let me know how you think this custom showcase turned out. It was a lot of fun to put together, and man oh man did I love the movie. So let me know what you think, be sure to hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next video.